Do you think the British papers are on a witch hunt?
I don't think they are. This is obviously a major story, but the real witch hunt is being carried out in cyberspace. It's sort of trial by Twitter, in a sense, and I think that's where the danger lies. I mean, the internet is one of the great benefits to mankind, you know, but like the discovery of fire, the invention of the wheel, but it's also like them fraught with danger too.
You're talking about the comments on their Facebook page, on Twitter, about
Precisely.
the DJs saying they've got blood on their hands.
And they're killers, etc.
Kelly, when someone dies, and it's an emotional story, and it's such a tragic story, human nature, doesn't it, it sort of needs someone to blame. And the DJs are the obvious people to blame here.
Well, yeah, and I think because it involves the royal family, because there's so much protectiveness among the public for the royal family, I think that, yes, I think they see the DJs the same way they might see the paparazzi with Princess Diana's death. However, I think the media do play a role here because they have grossly, grossly oversimplified the cause of this poor woman's suicide.
Well, we don't know,
Mental
do we?
health professionals will tell you that. Right. I mean, mental health professionals will tell you that when someone commits suicide, it's rarely because of one reason. And it's often the end of a very long, dark road.
It's one that's been reflected a lot. I mean, this indication, speculation around what might have been going on in her life is pure speculation. All we know from the facts is the facts. Sure. We don't know what else was in her life. And even if she... Sorry,
until there's a coroner's inquest, we won't know the full picture.
But we could...
Now, it may be, I'm sure that...
Well, but...
Yeah, sorry, carry on, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the media could bring a little more context to the issue of suicide, though. We know a lot of information about suicide, and that context could be included in this story, even if we don't know more information about her. I think that might change the anger on social media. But that said, I mean, people like to get mad, and they like to express their righteous indignation, and the DJs are the most obvious target for that.
I feel very sorry for the DJs.
So I don't know that you can necessarily...
Okay, Paul, I just want to... I mean, it is...
You know, I don't.
Okay.
Well, I do for the simple reason that I've been a radio editor, and you know, two young DJs do not dictate the shape of that programme. At first we thought that was a spontaneous live incident. It turned out not to be. It turned out it was pre-recorded and cleared by their superiors and lawyers. You know, so
it would have been better if it was live, because then you wouldn't have had the situation where they actually thought about it and still played it out.
Precisely. The fact that the station, it's the station bosses who are to blame for this, not two young DJs. Who, well, I'm sure they're telling the truth when they thought that, you know, they were so bad at their impersonations that in about 10 seconds flat, a professional switchboard operator would have sussed them out and sort of...
Which is why the hospital's to blame as well.
The hospital have something to answer for too. In fact, yeah, especially when you've got the Duchess of, Duchess of Cambridge in there in an emergency admission, and frankly, Scotland Yard should have warned them too that, you know, to put somebody on there who knew what they were doing, not a stand-in nurse. That was preposterous.
Kelly, your view is seen by some people as harsh, but it's certainly the majority view that you don't feel sorry for the DJs, but they didn't mean to kill someone, did they?
No, of course they didn't. And I think that DJs by profession their job is to entertain and to get attention, to shock. And yes, there's a whole institution behind them that, of course, bears the responsibility for creating that environment that rewards that kind of behavior. But you have to take individual responsibility for what you do as well.
But aren't they doing that by those immensely powerful interviews today? Pure emotion. They could not be feeling worse. So aren't they paying the price and therefore be allowed some sort of redemption?
Well, yes, and this will die down. This will die down for them. I mean, this will probably hit its peak today if it hasn't already hit its peak, and it will die down, and they will, you know, they will be allowed back into the industry, they will go back to work, and it will be fine. It doesn't seem like it now because there's an internet lynch mob out to string them up, but this is how the world communicates these days.
No one's distress and heartbreak here can match that of the family, but their careers are probably going to be blighted, and yet in a sense that they were naive, they were perhaps stupid, but there were elders and betters in charge of them who had the opportunity to actually control this situation and failed to do so. And I don't think anybody seeing their appearance and those tears, you know, from Mel Gregg, you know, and her male colleague could possibly doubt the sincerity of their grief and distress.
We've been through an awful... the British tabloid press has been through a huge process, hasn't it, over the last couple of years. It's completely changed, come under a lot of pressure. And are they being hypocritical by pointing out this story, or actually are they just being true to their new selves?
Well, a little bit of both probably, but the fact remains, those who are trying to draw some parallel, this underscores the Leveson report and why Leveson was right. It's ridiculous, yeah. Because these are not journalists. This wasn't a news program. This was basically an entertainment show hosted by a couple of young B or C list celebrities on the Sydney scene, as it were, who actually, and there's no parallel with the issues of Leveson, but the press had to report this. It became, in a sense, it was initially a sort of mixture of amusement, but also outrage that somebody had got through and somehow a nurse had innocently, you know, been conned into revealing some, you know, breaching some medical secrets and confidentialities. But then, of course, the tragedy happened with the nurse's death. But at the end of the day, though, in Australian broadcasting regulations, you are meant, if you make one of these sort of prank calls, the regulations are you have to contact the quotes, victims of quotes, and get their permission to broadcast it. And in fact,
they say they were happy legally with it all, but there are
they made 5 attempts to get through, but they also, it's pretty clear that they didn't speak to anybody in any authority, so I don't think that washes.
Paul Connew and Kelly McBride, thank you very much indeed. A really good debate.